A single porch light flickers against a black Nebraska sky, the only sign that anyone is home for miles in any direction. This is Monowi, population 1. But here's the question that will follow you long after this video ends. What does it take for one woman to keep an entire town alive, all by herself? Because by the time we're done, you'll understand why an 89-year-old woman chose to become the mayor, the treasurer, the librarian, and the only customer of her own town's bar, in a place where the nearest neighbour is 7 miles away and the nearest city is nearly 200. Stay with me, because the secret to her survival will make you question what a town actually is. Imagine an incorporated municipality, recognized by the state of Nebraska, complete with streetlights, a mayor, and an annual election. And imagine that every single role in that government is filled by the same person. That's Monowi, not abandoned, not a ghost town, still legally, officially alive. Its city limits stretch across a mere quarter-square mile of Boyd County prairie, wedged between the Niobrara and Missouri rivers, and yet within that tiny footprint sits a functioning tavern, a working library, and one woman named Elsie Eiler, who is quite literally the entire population. She didn't end up here by accident. She didn't get left behind. To understand why Monowi still exists at all, you first have to understand what it once was, and everyone it lost along the way. Picture the 1930s. Monowi humming with roughly 150 residents, a railroad line cutting through the plains, grocery stores and a restaurant lining its streets, a schoolhouse full of children's voices. That was the peak. That was the town at its loudest. Now walk through it today, and the silence is the first thing you notice. The wind moving through empty lots where houses used to stand. The church at the edge of town holding nothing but old tires, and the memory of a funeral held back in 1960, the last one it would ever host. The Mason, Elkhorn, and Missouri Valley Railroad, the very reason Monowi existed, shut down decades ago. The post office closed in 1967. The last grocery store shuttered soon after. The school taught its final class in 1974. This is northeastern Nebraska, where wheat fields roll unbroken to the horizon, and winters arrive hard and dry across open ground with nothing to break the wind. The nearest town, Lynch, sits just under 7 miles away. Omaha, the closest real city, is 194 miles southeast, a 5-hour round trip for anything Monowi itself no longer has. 3 houses stand within the town limits. Only one still has a light on at night. Every other building is a monument to something that used to be here. Proof that Monowi didn't fall silent overnight. It emptied out person by person, decade by decade, until the emptying had nowhere left to go but one. Every morning Elsie opens the doors of the Monowi Tavern at 9 o'clock. 6 days a week she is there, standing behind the same bar her father once owned. She flips burgers on the grill. She serves hot dogs and cold beer. She talks to hunters, truck drivers, and tourists who drove for hours just to see the town with one person in it. When the last customer leaves at night, she washes every dish herself. She's the only worker there. There is no one else to help her. Just steps away from the tavern sits a small building called Rudy's Library. Inside are 5,000 books, sitting quietly on shelves. There is no librarian at a desk. There is no checkout line. Instead, visitors take a book if they want one, and they trust themselves to bring it back. Elsie built this library for her husband, Rudy, who loved to read. He passed away, but his love of books did not. It lives on in every shelf, in every quiet room, waiting for someone to walk in. The tavern feeds the body. The library feeds the memory. Together they are not just 2 small buildings in an empty town. They are proof of something bigger. This is not just a woman getting by. This is not simple survival. This is love, turned into brick and wood, still standing long after the person it was built for is gone. Every year, a small notice goes up inside the tavern, taped near the register where only she will read it. It announces an election. There is exactly one candidate and there is exactly one voter. Elsie walks to the ballot, marks her own name, and elects herself mayor of Monowi for another year. She issues herself a liquor license, signed by the mayor, approved by the mayor, granted to the town's only business owner, who is also the mayor. Each spring, she files a municipal road plan with the state of Nebraska, a formal document required to keep funding flowing for the 4 streetlights that still glow along her empty streets after dark. Each year, she pays her own municipal taxes, money that travels in a small circle from her hand back to her town, keeping the lights on for no one but herself. She votes for herself. She licenses herself. She taxes herself. On paper, it reads like a bureaucratic joke, a strange loophole, a checklist never anticipated. In practice, it is a ceremony repeated every single year since 2004, unbroken, exact, taken seriously each time. There is no city council to overrule her, no opposing candidate to challenge her, no one to witness the vote but the empty bar stools around her. And yet she does it anyway, faithfully, the way another town might raise a flag or ring a church bell. Because somewhere underneath the paperwork this is still a town, and a town needs a government, even if that government is just one woman, keeping her own promise. Elsie Eiler grew up on a farm just a quarter-mile from where she sits today, and she met Rudy in a one-room schoolhouse when she was still a girl, the two of them riding the same bus 7 miles to school each day. For a while she left. Young and restless, she moved to Kansas City chasing a dream of becoming a flight attendant, trading prairie silence for city noise. But the city never fit her the way home did. At 19, she came back, married Rudy, and together they raised 2 children under Monowi's wide, empty sky. In 1971, they opened the tavern that had once belonged to Elsie's father, pouring their future into a business built on a town that was already fading. The railroad was gone. The school would close a few years later. By 1980, only 18 people remained. By 2000, it was down to 2. Rudy and Elsie, running the bar together, the last married couple in a town built for hundreds. Then, in 2004, Rudy died, and the number became 1. She could leave. She has said so herself. She could pack up and go anywhere she wanted. Nothing chains her to this quarter-mile of prairie except the fact that she doesn't want to be anywhere else. Like so many who wander from small towns only to feel unmoored in bigger ones, Elsie already tested the alternative decades ago and came home. She isn't stranded in Monowi. She chose it once, and then kept choosing it. One ordinary morning at a time. Remember the question I promised to answer? Here it is. In 2020, the census briefly showed Monowi's population had risen to 2. For a moment, people wondered if someone had finally moved in beside her. But Elsie said no one new had come, and the Census Bureau confirmed it. The extra person was nothing but statistical noise, a privacy safeguard scrambling the numbers of a town too small to hide inside. Even the federal government, with all its data and all its systems, couldn't quite believe that one person was the whole story. But she was. She still is. That's the secret. Monowi doesn't survive because someone forgot to shut it down. It survives because one woman refuses to let it end. Not out of obligation, not because she's stuck, but because every year she re-elects herself, relicenses herself, and reopens the tavern doors. She's making the same choice all over again. A town isn't really measured by how many names are on its census form. It's measured by who stays when everyone else has a reason to leave, and stays anyway. One woman, one tavern, one library, one town, one truth. Home doesn't need a crowd to be real, so tell me, could you be the last one to turn off the lights, or would the silence be too much? Drop your answer below, and if this story changed how you think about small towns and staying power, hit that like button. Next week I'm taking you somewhere even stranger. You won't believe what's still standing there. Subscribe so you don't miss it.